What's the big deal about miles? Well, I'm going to talk about it from a W-2 versus 1099 perspective on this segment of the Gig Geezer. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, thanks for coming by. And if you would not mind, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Well, I'm going to tell you up front that I've kind of jumbled some things as I've documented for this segment of the Gig Geezer. So what I want to do is segue into what I initially documented, and that's talking about Instacart, because the way things have unfolded this month, Instacart has been my leading money earner, my leading revenue generator. It's been the app that I've really kind of leaned on this month because of the way things have been here in the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area. But what I'm going to do is later on in this segment, return and continue this and start the discussion about what's the big deal about miles. This week has been one of those weeks where what I describe it as brawling for what you can get. Now, I entered today just a tick under $1,450 earned for the week. The app that's been a leading earner not only this week but for the entire month has been Instacart. Of all the apps that I have described in my time doing this Gig Geezer channel, Instacart is leading the way because it is what it is right now in the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area. And so I'm actually starting today, Saturday, December 23rd, 2023, on an Instacart. The offer amount is $24.11. And after this, I have a catering opportunity that I should be picking up in about an hour and 15 minutes. It's on the Delivered That app. And that one should pay right at about $40, probably $45 if I play it right. And that will get me out to about $70 to start the day. Now, because of the way the market has been lately, how things have been slow, how things have been sparse, I've had to be very realistic with my goals. In fact, yes, the money that I've earned, at least based on my body of work, I've been earning F-150 type money most days, but I still use the van because you never know when there's that opportunity out there where you need your van. For example, like here, this picture here, that was yesterday in Instacart. It was a part of a stacked opportunity that ultimately paid over $52. Well, I could have done it in the F-150, but I didn't have. I don't think I would have thought about. I don't think I would have thought about taking a dolly with me or putting the dolly in the bed of my F-150 or something else that I might have needed to do an Instacart opportunity. So with my van, I've got all that type of equipment. I've got a dolly, and I definitely needed it with 5 cases of water, and then 5 cases of Gatorade, and then the large box that I had of items in there, and then the toilet paper. That came in handy. What would not have helped me, though, however, was walking up all those steps to put all that stuff, because they also showed here, please put it on the front step. Now, that was a setup. And let's just say that I exercised an option that I have on the Instacart app. I blocked them. And I also blocked the other people that was on that particular order as well. In fact, I've blocked a lot of people on the Instacart app. And I make no apologies about it. But I'm about to go inside, do this Instacart order. The drop-off location is like about 5 minutes from here. In fact, if you saw on the inset, as you're looking on the B-roll, I passed by the street that I would have to turn on to go up to the neighborhood, which is about 5, 6, 7 minutes away from here. All right, I have completed that Instacart order. You saw it took me about somewhere between 35 and 40 minutes to complete it. The offer amount was $24.11. What paid was $23.40 and change, somewhere in there. Wasn't worth my while. But those are the risks, those are the gambles that you take when you do Instacart orders. Some of them can be real fast and rather perfunctory. You're in and out, you drop off everything, you move on. And then in other situations, it ain't what's happening. And in this particular case, I took it upon myself to make communication with this customer, because what happens is over time you realize that certain customers are real sticklers. They're real sticklers for certain things. This person wanted certain organic items, organic fruit or vegetables, and for example, they didn't have any organic yellow peppers. So there's nothing I can do about that. What's another item? Her initial selection were dinner rolls, the store brand. They didn't have them, and so had to make a substitution out on that. Then there were certain types of cheeses that she wanted, and they didn't have the brand. They didn't have the store brand cheese, but they had another brand cheese. So went with that. She wanted store brand Parmesan cheese. They didn't have that, so I had to go with the name brand. Things like that. And so for the time that was spent, and then the other thing with Instacart was time consuming. The shopping part can be time consuming, but so can be the bagging part. Now I tend to bag all mine. The only place that I can't bag is Food Line. Food Line is not set up where you can bag, where you can go to the self checkout and do it yourself. All the other places in the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area, you can do that. Aldi, of course, you have to do it. Sam's, you can do that. Costco, you can do that. Well, no, Costco you can't. They have to do it. But Sam's, you can do it. Of course, Public, you can do it. Kroger, which I just left, you can do it. Can't do it at Piggly Wiggly. But there's only a handful of places that you cannot do the self-bagging. That's what I'm getting at. But it's time consuming to do the self-bagging anyway. Even if you had someone at the register doing it, of course, you have your preferences like I do. And so it's easier to do it yourself than to have someone who's not listening to you trying to bag, and you're telling them, look, I want to double bag and load the bags, and they're putting 2 items in there and then handing you off the bag. No, that's not going to work. So now I'm heading off to a catering opportunity on the northwest part of town, and I'm probably going to massage getting there, but the total amount is like $600 and something. If I play it right, as I mentioned earlier, I probably should get I'll get 40, but more like if I really play it right, $45 out of it. All right, before I continue the conversation from the catering pickup, Instacart has been my leading revenue earner this month. In fact, I went over $1,000 in gross revenue earned on from Instacart from this past order. And I wouldn't, if I came into this month, I certainly would not have thought that. I mean, I've not had to work Instacart as much as I have since the beginning of the year. So we're talking, if memory serves me correct, January, February is the last time I really worked the app like this. But circumstances based on the way the market has been lately, I've had to make the adjustment by working more gig food delivery apps than the last mile delivery apps and the brokered opportunities. I mean, we're talking about less than 5 brokered opportunities this month booked, 4 of them to be exact. And altogether, I've earned $950 on that app. You could not have told me that would have been the case this month, but that's the way it is. Entering today, just gross revenue earned. Well, after this particular order, or entering today, I was just south of 8 G's. And it's not been, brokered opportunities has just not led the way. So You make your adjustments. If you're gonna be out here making your money doing delivery and transport, you have to make adjustments. You can't rule out anything, although you still try to uphold certain standards that you have. This catering opportunity, for example, is one that is on the, I'm not even going to say it's on the low end of acceptability. I accepted it because knowing Saturday, just what I suspect, Saturdays will probably be rather slow in the beginning of the day. It's at the pickup time is right now about 10:30. It's likely to pay about $45. I mean, for the dollar amount of the order. Of course, we're dealing with Deliver That, and Deliver That is notorious. I mean, Deliver That, the greater majority of the orders are going to pay anywhere between $30 and $39. If you get something over $40, at least in the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area, in this market, consider it good. Now, if that'd been on the delivered app, I might have passed on it all the way around, because for $685, I would be expecting a minimum on the delivered app of somewhere about $75, at least to be earned on it. But with Deliver That, it's a different story. In fact, this will be my third Deliver That order of the month. I've had one delivered order this month. In fact, for that matter, I think Delivered has forgotten about me. Delivered has forgotten about me. Deliver That has forgotten about me. Those apps have forgotten about me. At least that's just Gig Geezer venting, if you will. But really and truly, I mean, there was a time Delivered and Delivered That were significant earners for me, particularly when I was working primarily out of my F-150. And so to see things change the way they have, I'm not losing any sleep over it. I'll just leave it at that. So what we're going to do is go inside, pick up this order, and I will resume the conversation on mileage. All right, now here we go. I'm not going to be naive and say that I don't pay attention to miles that are put on my vehicle, specifically for this Gig Geezer segment. For the record, I've put some miles on my van this year. I've had the van for a little over a year now. I've put already over 80,000 miles here in 2023. And quite honestly, it's already got me thinking about down the road. What options am I going to be considering much sooner than later? I remember when I sat across the desk from the bank loan guy, the commercial bank loan guy, he had asked me, about how many miles do you think you'd be driving? I said, about 40, 50,000 miles a year. Yeah, right. Yeah, I grossly underestimated that. But for those who are going to ask the question, well, how many miles are on your van already now? Over 150,000. It's a 2019 van, so it's 5 model years old. Over 150,000 miles is about 30,000 miles a year. Yes, that's a good bit of miles. But I've talked about how I've done the diligent things in terms of maintenance and frequent oil changes and checking up on the fluid levels and changing of filters, things like that. But then eventually there's going to be some things that I know I'm going to have to do. I did not mention it in this segment of the Gig Geezer, but for example, replacing spark plugs, replacing the unibelt. Those are things that I know I'm going to have to replace very soon. But a very common argument that people make about miles is that, oh, these miles, they're going to put wear and tear on your vehicle and blah, 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 blah. So you're going to have people who talk about, well, I'm not going to put all that wear and tear on my vehicle. That's wear and tear on my vehicle. That's miles and wear and tear on my vehicles. And I'm not going to argue with you about that. I mean, I get it. People are concerned about miles on their vehicle and the wear and tear. But the fact of the matter is, when you do any type of delivery and transport business, you're going to put miles on your vehicle. And another fact of the matter is that depending on, number one, based on your driving habits, you're going to put wear and tear on your vehicle just by the way you drive. If you're into fast accelerations and if you're taking off like somebody at a drag race Christmas tree, if you're hard on your brakes, if all your concern is the vehicle starts and it's got gas in it and you don't really look up under your hood, or you don't stick to some kind of a maintenance schedule, if you drive 95 miles an hour everywhere, you're going to put wear and tear, unnecessary wear and tear on your vehicle. Now, another common argument that people like to make is depreciation. In fact, depreciation. Depreciation is, I mean, I look at it this way. When it comes to vehicles, having worked at a car lot, having sold vehicles, depreciation, that just goes through one ear out the other ear when you talk to somebody at a car lot. Because we already know that when you take a vehicle off the car lot, it's already lost. You're not going to get, if you pay $40,000 for that vehicle, you're not going to get $40,000. You come back next week with that vehicle. You're just not. That's just the way it works. So depreciation may be more of a tax item than anything else. And even then, I can't talk about depreciation because I've never taken depreciation on a vehicle. I've always claimed straight miles. So we talk about depreciation and all. And depreciation really, I mean, again, when it comes to vehicles, when it comes to doing gig work, when it comes to doing delivery and transport, you're going to make more money with your vehicle than you are ever going to get if you ever try to sell it or trade it in. That's just a fact of life. But I do get it when people talk about the wear and tear on the vehicle. I've already given you some examples of on the extreme end of folk who may not be as mindful of the maintenance and upkeep of their vehicle. But the experience that I can draw from immediately is with a Federal Express, the personal vehicle program. Now, I've done some videos on some video uploads on the Federal Express program. But one thing I do know is that if you're going to really, at least the guy that I dealt with, the contractor that I dealt with, if you're really going to make the money that's similar to the guys who do it every day in the Federal Express vehicles, you're going to have to do a lot of stops. I'm talking about over 100 stops in a day. If you're going to make that $200 or more a day doing it like those guys, over 100 stops, and you imagine you're driving in and out of neighborhoods, you're not the neighborhoods, businesses, that all that starting, stopping, braking, that is wear and tear on a vehicle. And that's something that I kind of cringed about whenever I would go out there, even for that $150, $160 in a day that I've done it. In fact, I did 13 routes so in 2023, just for the record. And man, that didn't settle well. And I was looking for more money. And yes, there are a couple of times I did it in my van, but even then, doing it in my van, I'm thinking about all this starting, stopping, braking, and that just didn't make any sense. What is a known fact is that you're going to have less wear and tear on your vehicle if you're doing highway miles. Highway miles is much easier on your vehicle, especially if you drive with sense. And I'm talking about like anywhere between 60 and 75 miles an hour. You're not going to put the wear and tear on the vehicle because your vehicle is going at as a lot of vehicles, they are engineered now to go at a lower RPM once you reach highway speed. Like on my F-150, for example, my F-150 barely breaks a good idle. I mean, it's going at about 1,750 RPM, and that 1,750 RPM is nothing for a V8 engine. On this van, highway RPM is going to be anywhere between 2,100 and 2,250 RPM. That's on the low end. I guess if you really want to gun it and drive 80, 90 miles an hour, then you're going to get closer to 3,000 RPM. I get uncomfortable when I see that type of RPM. I know I'm basically talking, I'm talking actual shop talk there, but for those who are more adept about vehicles, you'll understand what I'm talking about. That's why vehicles are kind of engineered the way they are, not only for longevity of the engine, but also for gas economy, fuel economy. If your engine is not working as hard, well, then you're not going to use as much gas. That's just for that fact. Now, what really got me to thinking about looking ahead with vehicle was what happened on this segment of the Gig Geezer when I lost that right front wheel bearing. I mean, that really, for a moment, until I figured out what was wrong, And I guess until the guy came out and kind of agreed with me that that's exactly what it was the wheel bearing. That was a very helpless situation there. I mean, I'm 10 miles from the North Carolina Tennessee border, off in the mountains somewhere. I'm at a minimum almost 3 hours, three and a half hours from the Geezer compound, and I'm on the side of the road. Well, actually, initially on the side of the road, and then I limped and crawled over to a rest area. You know, that was unexpected. That was an unexpected repair, but those things happen when you have ownership and operation of a vehicle. So, but I want to point out though, with the mileage conversation, if you're not willing to put miles on your vehicle, although I realize what everybody would love to do is drive 5 miles and be paid $500 to do basically nothing. The fact is that if you're going to do delivery and transport, you're going to put miles on your vehicle, be it your personal vehicle or, in my case, this commercial vehicle. And that's just the reality. The other thing is that while you're concerned about depreciation, you're going to make more. Your vehicle is more valuable using it to make money than you'll ever get on your vehicle attempting to sell it. The only way you're going to see a vehicle that appreciates in value is some type of a classic or some real expensive vehicle that only so many people make, so that has a very limited production. And even then, there may be fluctuations in the market with those vehicles. So, and the miles on the vehicle have got to be, I mean, you basically can only drive to the end of your driveway and back in order for those type of vehicles to retain at least 90% of what you paid for it. So for us common folk, your vehicle is most useful making money with it. So in the case of this van cost me $35,000. When I signed the paperwork, the price of the van was $35,000. That does not include a warranty, and that does not include the financing. Okay, but $35,000 and change was the price of the vehicle. Well, I've already earned over $110,000, more like about $112,000, $113,000. So I have gotten already a 3-to-1 return on investment based on sales price of the vehicle. But when I take into account total cost, which is something that I've talked of in a past Gig Geezer segment, when I take into consideration total cost, which would put me around $43,000, that return on investment is still a 2.5-to-1 ratio and increasing. So I'm going to give you a personal W-2 situation versus 1099 situation. And I think this is going to tie up this segment of the Gig Geezer. Back in 2015, I worked as a captive agent. 2015, part of 2016, I worked as a captive agent. First at the Allstate agency. I lived actually in this part of Columbia that I'm leaving now, the northwestern part of Columbia. And I commuted 35 to 45 minutes each day to Gilbert, which is in Lexington County. So I'm in northwest Richland County going to Lexington County. And not once did I ever complain about the miles driven or the time, even the commute time to that job. Not once. But in 2016, things changed. I ended up getting on at a place, at a nationwide agency in Orangeburg. Orangeburg is like, at a minimum from where I was and where I was living at the time, 45 minutes to an hour. It was a 45-minute to an hour commute, driving roughly about 50 miles in one direction to that agency. Not once did I complain about miles driven. Not once did I even complain about the commute. But I knew I dutifully went there each day, 5 days a week, to both places, either that Allstate in 2015 or to that nationwide at first part of 2016. But what's interesting is when people now people are working an app, okay, and it tells you, okay, I'm going to be offered $10 to drive 12 miles. Now all of a sudden, I'm not doing that. That's not worth my while. I'm putting miles and wear and tear on my vehicle. That's thirst opportunity. That's thirst money. Let somebody who's thirsty do that. Well, the way I see it is this way. If you're going to complain about miles, now let's look at this within reason. I'm not saying that you should drive from here to Timbuktu for $20. No. But what I'm saying is, all of a sudden, you're concerned about miles when you're doing 1099 work, okay? Now, granted, the two very important things as a 1099 are miles and time, because that equals money. The more efficient with your time, the better you maximize your money. The smarter you are with the miles that you drive, the more you maximize your money. So that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. But here's where all those conversations end. As a W-2, this is the punchline. This is the closing statement. As a W-2, you can't claim your commute miles. The only miles that you can claim are your non-reimbursed miles. Whereas as a 1099, if you're out conducting any type of business on behalf of any type of stuff, any type of work, any type of business on behalf of your business, those are miles that you can claim. And mileage, as I've always said, is a 1099's best friend. I spoke of that on this segment of the Gig Geezer, and I've spoken about that many occasions in which mileage is a 1099's best friend. So when you start talking about those miles and depreciation and the taxes and all that type of stuff, you can bellyache about it, or you can be proactive. And with that, this is yet another segment of the Gig Geezer. If you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up. Share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane. As always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.